Hi everybody, Unc here. And in today's video I'm going to be primarily flipping the LDY Will Hirsch collaboration, The Anser, which I got at Blade Show 2026 this last year. First production unit, number 11 of 99 in this sweet pink and yellow sunset fade. In today's video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reviewing some questions that I have been asked by people in the community over the course of the last probably about a week and a half. Don't know how long it's going to take me to get through some of these questions. I don't have a whole lot of them, but we'll jump right into it. The first question that came up was from the Flipping Awesome Balisong. And the question is, what tricks are you currently learning or wish you could learn? And the funny thing is, the vast majority of tricks that I currently know fall under that category because I haven't perfected a great many things. So, for example, I know how to do the cherry picker, though not very smoothly. I know the fundamentals of the shortstop, but I can't do it in one fluid motion. I know the technical details of how to do the ladder, but I can't do it fast enough and smooth enough to have it in one continuous circular motion. I always get that extra rock at the bottom because I'm just not going fast enough and I don't have the momentum timed right. And then one trick that's newer to me that I wanted to try to learn was the aerial to choker or chaplain, but it was suggested to me before trying that, just try to do a rollover into chaplain, which learning that will help me get into the catch the chaplain from that aerial, or catch the Bally from the aerial and go right into the chaplain. So that's really what I've been drilling a lot as of late, though I can't do it smoothly. As you can see, I kind of catch it and then move into the chaplain. Some honorable mentions are the, let's see, the choker fan, which I can do. I just can't do it consistently, especially on a number of Ballies. There are some Ballies that I have that I can do it pretty consistently on, but that's one that I am constantly trying to work on improving my ability to get into it mid-flip as opposed to just from the starting point of right here. So I think for the most part, those are the majority of the tricks that I'm currently trying to learn and trying to smooth out. I'm not really trying to add more into my my learning list until I get at least a number of those much more smoothed out than they currently are. Thank you for your question. Next we have from David Likes to Flip. What do you think the base level of knowledge about the hobby is in order for a person to be a reliable source of information about this hobby? This includes learning tricks, Bally recommendations, tuning tips, and so on. So for this is kind of an interesting question because I think that anybody has the potential of being a good source of information, so long as the information that they're providing is quality information. So just because you're new to something doesn't mean that you haven't done your homework and you don't know what you're talking about. Myself, for example, shortly after joining the hobby, while I wasn't really great at flipping, there were a number of things that I was able to bring to the community as a content creator that were specific to me, and because of that, because of my situation in the hobby, being a newer content creator, being newer to Balisongs, but having an analytical work history under my belt, I brought a different perspective to my thoughts on a bally, or my thoughts on trick progression, or what I don't know, basically anything that I felt was worth putting out there. I feel at this point was still valid information for me to put out there based on where it was that I was coming from. Another thing to keep in mind is one of the best ways to learn and become better at something that you are learning is to, after you've learned something, turn around and teach it to somebody else. So, there are a lot of people who are newer into the hobby that one of the first things that they try to do while they're still, themselves learning how to flip is making tutorials on the things that they already know how to do. I don't think that that's a bad idea, because the more tutorials we have out there on something, the better chances somebody who is trying to learn this new thing, whatever it might be, the better chances they're going to find a resource that clicks for them, and they're able to hear the thing that makes the trick finally land. For example, the shortstop. I can't tell you how many different tutorials from countless content creators I have watched thus far on how to do the shortstop. And from each of those tutorials, I've actually gotten something new out of it. And right now, the only reason I would say that I probably don't have the shortstop down pat yet is because I've sort of taken a hiatus from really drilling it. But I have gotten stuff from newer flippers. I have gotten stuff from seasoned flippers. I have gotten stuff from people who've been making YouTube content for a long time. And I've been able to get something out of each of those tutorials I've watched. So, David, to answer your question of what's the base level of knowledge that I think somebody needs to have in the hobby in order to be a reliable source of information, I don't know that can really be measured in, their tenure in the hobby, so much as the effort that they have put into learning whatever information they have that they feel is worth sharing. And I think anybody who's gathered information about a topic and is willing to share it, I think that's admirable. So I don't think that I would say that for me, the base level knowledge that somebody needs to try to help somebody else is very, very, very low. So long as they know something, and they're trying to share that in a positive way to improve other people's ability and access to the hobby, I think that it's a good thing. So I wouldn't really put guardrails around when should somebody be taken seriously and not. I think if somebody's trying to be helpful, then see what they have to say, and you might be able to get something out of it. Thank you for your question. Next, we have from Estion RSA. They had two questions. The first question is, there is a thing in the hobby where you always feel like having more ballies or getting more. How do you overcome this or deal with it? This is one that I have personally struggled with a fair amount, because I have a very addictive personality. When I got into the hobby, once I realized that my interest in Balisong flipping wasn't going anywhere, I immediately started amassing a collection of Balisongs. Since then, I have gathered enough Balisongs that I have a number of weight profiles, a number of balance preference, well, not a number of weight profiles between my Balies, a number of material types between my Balies, a number of handle shapes. I have different things that I can try and flip. And sometimes when I go into my office to figure out what Bali I'm going to be carrying for the day, I flip through a couple of them just to see which one feels right for me that day. And it isn't always the same Bali. So there's definitely a benefit in having a larger collection, but on the other hand, to actually get to your question, how do you kind of overcome this or deal with it? I've kind of just naturally come to the realization that I don't need anything more than I have at this point. I have enough to have the options that I need to flip basically whatever it is that I want to flip. As far as like, do I want something heavily handle biased? Do I want something more neutral? Do I want something more, blade bias? Do I want something heavier, or do I want to flip a lighter Bali for the day? I have those options, and because of that, I've kind of just asked myself, okay, then do I need something more? Because at this point, like, I would feel that if I was going to get something else, I would need to get rid of something in my collection and replace it. But I don't know that I have any Balis that I feel like I need to get rid of and replace with something, different, something more expensive. So for me, it's basically just I naturally got to the point where I decided, okay, this is enough. If you struggle with that, and you're wanting what you have to be enough, but you don't feel like it is yet, then my recommendation would be to kind of sit back and ask yourself, okay, well, what is it that's causing me to feel like I need something more? It's obviously not that you need something to flip, because if you already have a collection, or if you already have one Bali, you have something to flip. So it's not a matter of whether it's whether you have something to flip or not. So what is it? It's got to be something else, and I would take the time to kind of figure out what that is, and once you figure out what that is, then you can kind of make up a game plan on, okay, how do I combat that if that's something that I feel needs to be combated. The next question was, what is it like having a big collection, like rotating between Balis and having go-to Balis? So for me, it's very nice to have a big collection. But as far as what it's like, I find it very productive for me, because when I'm trying to learn a new trick, I have a Bali, specifically my Teflon Vulp, that I always start learning a new trick on. From there, once I have the basics of the trick down, then I move on to another Bali to see if I can start drilling it on that. And primarily that's going to be my full channel Kraken V3. But the Kraken isn't always the best Bali for me to drill a trick on. And a good example of that is the choker fan. When I first started learning the choker fan, I could not, and that was a horrible one, I could not get a choker fan on the Kraken to save my life. But I learned very quickly that I could get the choker fan pretty consistently on my Orion S because of the shape of the handles. It was a lot easier for me to get the grip that I needed to start that, choker fan rotation, that right there. And then as I started flipping through more of my Bally's, I found other Bally's that I was more consistent with the choker fan on versus other Bally's like the Kraken that I was less consistent on the choker fan. So my collection actually allowed for me to pick and choose which Bally does this trick that I'm trying to get consistent with, which can I do it with more consistently, and I would start drilling it more with the Bally's that I could do that trick with, and then slowly but surely I started tossing in the Bally's that I couldn't do it as consistently with, and my confidence in being able to do the trick became more consistent with those Bally's that initially right off the gate I couldn't get it with. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that was easy enough to follow. But as far as like, what's it like having a larger collection? For me, that's the big benefit, is when I'm trying to learn a trick, the trick is going to land much more consistently on a Bally that you're much more comfortable and confident doing that trick on. So some tricks, it's going to be my Orion S that I can do the trick the best on. Some tricks it's going to be the Crescent. Some tricks it is going to be the Kraken. And what the larger collection does for me is it gives me the opportunity to use the Bally that I can most consistently land the trick with, to really drill the trick and get that muscle memory built in. And then that makes it easier for me to then, start trying it with the other Bally's that I can't do it as consistently with, and start building up that comfort. Thank you for the question. Next, from Blue Bomber 81, if you could change anything about Balisongs, the hobby, or the community, what would it be? And this one is tough for me because my answer is sort of a non-answer. Initially, when I'm thinking, what could I change about Balisongs, I would make them less expensive, but, that's not a reasonable request in many circumstances or many cases. So beyond that, I can't think of anything that I would change about a Bally. In general, like Balisongs in general. They're primarily on bushings now, which I think is a big plus. Though you do have, bearing options, you do have washer options, and I think options are good. So I wouldn't change anything there. You have sandwich construction, you have channel construction. Again, options are good. Wouldn't change anything there. We have live blades, we have trainers, we have false edge trainers. Again, options. We have aluminum, we have titanium, we have stainless steel. I wouldn't change basically anything about Balisongs at this point because there are so many options that are out there already. I don't know that there's really a need for change. And innovation is still happening. And on top of that, we have, like the Create with Nibalis that Nibalis does every year, where the community members get to try their hand at designing a Balisong, and one of them gets chosen by the community and gets made and produced for purchase through Nibalis. I think that's great. As far as what I would change about Balisongs, I wouldn't change anything. Same goes about the hobby. From my perspective, The hobby itself is, I mean, I guess what I would change as far as the hobby goes is in those places where it's not a legal hobby to have, I would change that. I don't think Balisongs, whether they be trainers or live blades, I don't think they should be illegal. Um, I think that is a shame, and I don't think there's much foundation for it because these aren't rational weapons. These aren't, you know, a regular pocket knife is far more dangerous than this, and a regular pocket knife isn't illegal, whereas this is. So I guess that's the thing I would change about the hobby is I would make the hobby legal everywhere. And then lastly, as far as the community, I struggle with this one too. Not because I think the community is perfect. I'm sure that it's not. There is always a dark side to any community. But I struggle with this particular question because I have been lucky enough to have avoided the dark side of the community. Since I joined the Balisong hobby about a little over a year ago now, I have received nothing but overwhelming love and support from everybody that I've interacted with. I have not received any hate. I have not received any criticism. I have gotten nothing but, like I said, love and support from absolutely everybody right out of the gate, right from the get-go. So what would I change for the community? I wouldn't change anything. Other than, I guess, my change in the community would be assurance that everybody in the community had the same community experience that I have, which is, again, nothing but love and support. Because, really at the end of the day, we're all people that share this really awesome thing in common. Regardless of our level of talent, regardless of our progression in skill, and regardless of the size of our collection. We all share this interest in common, and people that have these shared interests, should be able to, have that, that shared experience, in a positive way. And again, my experience in the Balisong community thus far has been nothing but that. So I guess the only thing that I would change as far as the community is concerned is just assurance that everyone in our community could have the same experience that I have had in our community. Thank you for your question. And lastly, from Mel Flipping, what is your favorite flavor of cheese? Mozzarella. Mozzarella is my favorite flavor of cheese. I'm a big fan of pizza. I'm a big fan of deep fried cheese sticks. I'm a big fan of garlic bread with mozzarella cheese on it. When I'm making burgers at home, I typically don't put American cheese on my burgers. I put mozzarella cheese on my burgers. I like meatball subs with mozzarella cheese on it. All in all, I would say of all of the cheeses, mozzarella is without question the best. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think down in the comments below? What is your favorite flavor of cheese? But thank you, Mel, for your question. All right, and that, I think, is the last of the questions that I had from my list. So, to everyone who had dropped their questions out on my post from a week and a half ago, thank you. Anybody watching this who has questions of their own, go ahead and drop them in the comments, and I will, if there is interest, I will make another one of these answering more questions. But for the time being, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for saying hi, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Love you.